Hello, my name is Mage and welcome to Black and White Thinking. Today's video is my thoughts and feelings on Harley Quinn, the animated series, Season 4, Episode 4. In this video, I am going to quickly recap, then give my thoughts, and then finally reply to some comments left on the video for the last episode, and see where the conversation takes us. Let's go. Please like this video if you enjoy it, consider subscribing to the channel, checking out my Discord, my Patreon, all that good stuff. Thank you for being here, as always. Starting with a little recap of the episode. Episode 4, as I said, Ivy goes to the moon, and Harley and the Bat family cosplay poverty. Okay, slightly more than that happened, but actually this episode contained a lot. It tried to do a lot of plot moving as well as entertaining, and it was another episode where Harley and Ivy were unfortunately not in the same room. The two main plots of the episode obviously follow Harley and Ivy on separate adventures. Ivy at Malcon, on the moon. She is at the convention with Lex, who is using her for clout but not actually letting her do anything. She rebels on the advice of her newfound frenemy, Talia al Ghul, and makes friends with the big villain of the hour, Steppenwolf. Harley, in her B-plot, is helping the Bat-Kids learn how to cope without their weapons and gadgets, after Talia sells them all. In turn, they sell some shit to make money, including Ivy's underwear. They turn Wayne Manor into an Airbnb, and they do some bonding. Almost all goes to shit when it turns out their Airbnb guests are trying to fuck them over because they blatantly recognise that they are staying in Wayne Manor, but with the new tricks Harley has taught them over the episode, they manage to make it through another day. C-plot revolves around Joker and his irritation at being mayor. He clearly misses being evil, and we see him, and someone else, but we'll get there, beginning to unsuppress his evil urges and embracing his villain side again. This episode was about repression in a lot of ways, and I have things to say, a lot of which will build off of what I said in my last review, so be sure to check that out if you haven't already because, context. Some little things I noticed and or enjoyed before we analyse the big shit. Dick jokes are kind of old and not that funny, i.e. the Rocket, but this show is known for them at this point, so shrug. Chastity belts are so uncomfortable. That is commitment, Harley. It's also weird, so I hope kinky, but seriously, this shit would have hurt. That outfit on Harley looks fucking great, as I commented in the trailer video. I can't even pretend it doesn't. Anyone else getting gay Patrick Bateman vibes from Lex here? He's genuinely unsettling. Also, more details on this later, but Lex confirming he is using Ivy for woke points is cathartic to me. Told you so, Ivy, queen of self-sabotage. Talia is right, even if slightly evil, the Bat-Kids do rely too heavily on their rich kid toys. I've mentioned this before many times, I love this Barbara design. It is superior. She is so Velma-esque and nerdy, and that's how she should be. I love it. I've always loved it. I mean, look at how ugly this outfit is. It is perfect for Barbara Gordon. I loved the background shenanigans at Malcon. I love the rogues so much. There are literally hardly any left in this show because they all keep getting killed off, but at least, I guess, that gives us an opportunity to see more obscure ones. Personal fave from Malcon was Alfred selling prison toilet wine. I just thought that was fun. We actually saw Musk and Zuck in this episode, so those references from the last few episodes have become a whole load of meta, messing with my brain, and no, that wasn't a pun. God damn it. Anyway, as I have said before, billionaires are real-life supervillains, and at least the show seems to get that on some level. The voyeurism scene with Lex and Talia was a spit-take moment. That definitely was a pun, but I literally had to blink there to make sure I was seeing what I was actually seeing. Side note, if we can get this graphic rendition of two strangers fucking for supervillain pleasure, where is my Harley and Ivy equivalent scene? I do not want tasteful cutaways, I want vicious raw dogging, and anything less feels homophobic. Also, it was nice to see Clark being a himbo. Generally a fan of that take. He's not really much of a himbo, but, it's a fun thing to do. Anyway, meat and bones. Let's talk about Ivy and her poor decisions in regards to making male friends. We'll talk about Harley's babysitting gig, and the repression of our real feelings and how much it can fuck you up in the long run. So I was pretty critical, let's say, of the storylines laid out in the last episodes. I am not a fan of CEO Ivy or Bat Harley, and we all know that by now. But this episode definitely made some serious progress in dismantling the simple nature of these things I felt like we were originally made to see. There was, as I said, some major aggression and internal pushback for Harley and Ivy and even the Joker in this episode. Thematically, there was a lot to be said about pretending to be something we are not to try and gain gain brownie points from people whose opinions we don't actually care about or need for validation. For Ivy, there was big, you've made your bed, now sleep in it vibes for the first half of the episode. I never want to see Ivy suffer, but the fact that it took her this long to realise that Lex Luthor is not her friend is weak, and genuinely a little irritating to watch. She has been taken advantage of by Lex, and a lot, and I don't love that the show has made her seem too stupid to understand that, but I do appreciate the scales are finally falling from her eyes. She does not need the Lord, or Lex. This episode proved it, and her getting fucked over does suck, but she needed to see it, so I'm glad she did. I'm not sure how much of this storyline is honestly backlogged from the previous creative team that the new one is trying to unravel, or if it's something that the new showrunners want to actively pursue. I guess that remains to be seen. Ivy embraces parts of herself in this episode that I both like and don't necessarily. I'm still not a huge fan of her just running off to try and find another man to impress. If you can call Steppenwolf a man, that is. He's an alien, technically, I guess. But I do appreciate that she seemed to come to the realization in this episode, not only that Lex doesn't give a shit about her, but also that she doesn't need him. She is actually better than him, stronger than him, more powerful and more sexy, cooler and smarter. Poison Ivy will never need Lex Luthor, and the quicker she stops this BS with the LOD, the happier I will be, because I'm also interested in what that looks like after the fact. Like, what Ivy chooses to do after all this Legion drama, and how that will affect her relationship with Harley. Because it will affect her relationship with Harley. Harley cannot be hanging around with a bunch of children who tried to kill Ivy last season and expect there to be no comeuppance. And as far as Harley goes, the B-plot was pretty tame this week. I really, genuinely wish I cared more about this version of the Bat Kids, but I just don't. Which is weird because I actually love Bat content generally and Bat Kids content, but this whole situation with Harley feels like a drag. This version of the Bat Kids is so placid that I just can't bring myself to care more than I do. That being said, two things. The first being that Harley, once again, proved in this episode that her way of doing things works just as well, if not better, than the Bat way. Once again, Harley saved the day doing her thing that is usually looked down upon by the Bat family, and surprise, it worked. And as I said in the last review, this is not going to be able to go on forever. There will be a clash between Harley's real way of doing things and the Bat Kids way she is trying to embrace. They just don't fit together in a way that actually makes any sense, and the consequences of that already seem to be emerging based on the last scene of the episode. We see Joker breaking in this episode. No longer content with his job as mayor, we see him getting bored with it and eventually killing a dude with a car bomb and rolling back into what seems to be full Joker mode. But in that last scene, second to last, I can't remember, we also see some weird shit in relation to Harley, who seems to be sleepwalking and doing naughty shit whilst she is sleepwalking around Wayne Manor. In this case, specifically smashing Dick's air fryer, which he mentioned earlier in the episode. Assumably this means, and I could be wrong, but I don't think I am, assumably this means that Harley's inner not good guy is being repressed and coming out in her sleep. There is even more to this when we compare the first Harley scene of the episode with the last Harley scene of the episode. In the first Harley scene, we see Harley and the Bat Kids saving Joker, which, side note, annoyed the fuck out of me. Just let that man die. But anyway, we see them saving Joker from Two-Face, and whilst the rescue is happening, Joker quips that Harley still has her edge and how she must miss being a villain. And Harley essentially replies, "Don't project your shit onto me." And both of them are right here. It's clear that both Harley and Joker, and even Ivy, are falling back into patterns from previous seasons. And usually I would find this regressive, but I actually don't, because I don't think their new positions as Lex Luthor's servant or as a patronizing good guy are actually very them. So I'm pretty hyped to see this all unravel. I think this season could go pretty much anywhere at this point. We could end up where we started, or we could end up with Harley going full parademon overlord again. I personally would prefer the latter. It's just for more fun for me, but I'm pretty excited to see what's going to happen regardless. It's nice to see that the writers are also questioning whether or not Harley and Ivy's hearts are in their new jobs, because if they are serious about their new positions, they're going to have to work harder to prove it. And if they're not, let's just watch them crash and burn and move on to bigger and better, more chaotically queer things, you know. Anyway, we better see Harley and Ivy in the same room next episode, or I'm going to have a full-blown strop. let's talk about some comments I got on the last video before we wrap this baby up. This video is already way longer than I wanted it to be. I want to keep these reviews kind of short and snappy, and I'm already talking too much. This video is probably going to be the same size as my last one on Harley Quinn, and that covered 3 episodes, and this one just covered 1. So either I didn't talk enough last time, or I'm talking too much this time. Let me know in the comments. Anyway, comments. Like I said, comments. Wow, keep it together, mage. Anyway, so first comment I want to talk about was one left by Amber Marie. And Amber has been leaving comments on my videos for years now, especially in relation to Harley, and I appreciate you, Amber. I see you, and I always really enjoy the insight you offer in regards to this show. Amber said, "Always good to hear your thoughts. I loved these 3 episodes. I personally only had 2 real issues, and you mentioned both. I don't like Harley as a hero either, but I never took this seriously in the show because it seems like this is a phase of Harley trying to be a hero only to realise she's not that kind of hero and she should just do her own thing. And I think that's what they're doing with Ivy too." I would generally agree, Amber, especially at this point in episode 4. That seemed pretty obvious from what we saw in this episode. I was panicking a bit in episodes 1 to 3, but hopefully everything goes okay. And speaking of Ivy, Amber continues, "I thought it was kind of weird that the woman in season 1 who told Harley that she did not need the Legion of Doom, that she was a badass on her own, and that she wanted nothing to do with the Legion of Doom, is now trying to gain the approval and respect of the Legion of Doom. And I'm calling it now. The Legion of Doom is going to bring out the worst in Ivy, just like it did with Harley. So much she might even start to neglect her relationship, or even hurt Harley, especially with Harley moving out and both struggling to find time for each other as is." Also generally agree. I think we saw the beginnings of that in this episode. Ivy even chose at the end of the episode to go have coffee with Steppenwolf, even though she had a date with Harley booked, so we'll see. Harley deciding to move out did feel forced. No one in the Bat family asked her to do that. It was never suggested before. It didn't even feel like a way to just get her to the Batsuit. It felt like a way for them to separate her from Ivy to cause further strain. And honestly, you'd think it would be better for them to stay together in their apartment because it is the one place they can be together and away from their jobs, where they're just Harley and Ivy. Also generally agree. It feels really forced that Harley and Ivy moved out, considering everything we've seen them go through in the last 2 seasons, to get to a place where they could just be together. And it feels like it's one of those things that's really noticeable to me, at least. I try to be a writer, right? I make these silly little videos, but ultimately I want to be a writer, a fiction writer, and something that is important to fiction, especially like romantic fiction, is understanding conflict, and conflict between characters, and conflicts between characters and their worlds. Conflict moves stories on. So when conflict is just kind of meh, it feels blatant, and this is one of those occasions. Now they're both alone, especially Ivy, who has abandonment issues. Not saying that Harley is abandoning her, but it's sad when you think that Ivy is alone again. They're together, but Ivy is alone again, and the only people she has in her ears are the dicks at the LOD and Talia al Ghul. But I think the overall goal for the season is for Harley and Ivy to realise that they don't need to be part of these jobs, Ivy becoming her own boss bitch and the kind of villain she wants, and Harley stepping away from the Bat fam and being the type of hero she wants. And yes, again, generally agree. Thank you for that comment. It was super helpful to kind of make me feel like I'm less crazy. Sometimes I feel like I'm too critical of this show or too bitchy about one specific element. So to see someone else be like, "No, I agree and here's why," or "No, I don't agree and here's why," is just super helpful for my peace of mind. I second guess myself a lot and I don't want to talk shit to you all. So yeah. Next comment was from my pal, Underling. He said, "This video reminds me of the reason I watch this channel." Thanks, babe. Pointing out things that I don't normally think about in this case. It was a reminder of why I didn't like how Ivy was handled in the season 3 finale. The season 3 finale was a mess in regards to how it handled Ivy. Let's all just agree on that. It's very clear that Ivy had a venomous hatred for Lex Luthor in the first 2 seasons. Not only did Ivy spend a majority of season 1 talking Harley out of joining the Legion, but also rejected his invite 148 times and thwarted the big man's plans in the Bachelorette episode. Of course, Lex's motivation for grabbing her on board makes sense. He's a control freak megalomaniac, and Ivy was the only villain not under his thumb, which subtly irritated him. Then the horse and the sparrow rolls around, and Lex tries to persuade Ivy once more, offering the CEO position. This was a very bizarre decision from the writers, but what frustrated me the most was how easily Ivy submitted, which takes us to the first episode of season 4, where Ivy is now trying to gain approval from this guy and his lackeys. Bruh. I think by the end of the season, like Harley, Ivy will realise that she doesn't need all this bigwig nonsense, and her relationship is more important. Just gotta hang in there and wait for that sweet, sweet payoff. And yeah, again, also agree. One of my biggest issues with this whole Ivy and the CEO thing with the Legion of Doom is that it feels pretty out of character. Even, like I said, if you just take this Ivy on face value, you don't compare her to any other Ivies in any other canon, it really makes little sense. It is either revealing that she's in a shitty place, in a place that she feels so bad about her current career choices that she would accept this offer, which doesn't seem very viable based on everything else we've seen, or again, it's just kind of shitty writing. And it's not unforgivable, but it's a choice. It's definitely a choice. Susu said, and God, I hope I'm pronouncing your username properly. By the way, if I mention you in this video or you comment on this video for the next one, and you want to be called something I haven't called you in this video because I'm just referring to your usernames, let me know what you want to be referred to as in your comment and I will refer to you as that. Also, if you want to let me know your pronouns, that would be fine, because otherwise everyone's getting they them'd if I don't know your pronouns. So just let me know if it makes you feel better. It will make me feel better to know you feel better. Susu said, I am glad that the voice actor for Talia is a Lebanese American actor, as I am of the same mixed ethnicity. Never been to Lebanon or America, would like to see both places at some point. And it's cool that for once she is played by an Arab actor. It does make me wonder why Damien is very pale if Talia is brown-skinned. Agreed, I think that's just some Eurocentric bullshit. I have no good answer for that. It would be nicer if Damien was darker, but I'm not surprised that he isn't based on where this show is animated and who it's animated by. Warner Brothers are not exactly known for a nuanced understanding of race and ethnicity. It's unfortunate, but it's true. Also, can't believe we finally got to see Nightwing's buttocks in the flesh. Yes, that was nice. Also, still wondering what the Bruce Wayne DJ thing was. Yeah, I'm curious about the Bruce Wayne DJ thing. The thing with this show is they drop things sometimes, and either they mean nothing and they are just like them trying to be funny in like a one-off 30-second gag, or it will end up being like the most important plot of the season. So I'm not going to make a guess about what the Bruce thing is, but I imagine we'll probably see more DJ Bruce at some point across this season. That's the best I've got. I assume this because we've also got to figure out what they're doing with Alfred. He's in prison trying to see Bruce, but he's in a different prison. Like, I feel like they won't just leave Alfred in prison indefinitely. I'm sure there will be some more stuff going on. Sam, K-Pam, I'm going to call you Sam for the duration of this, left me 2 comments, and I actually really wanted to get to them because they made an important point that I didn't actually point out, but my partner pointed out to me when we were rewatching the episode together, and I swear to God I just missed it, and I don't know how I missed it. I'm a bit desensitized, I think, sometimes, and I think when I'm watching these episodes it's really easy for me to miss things because I'm so busy analysing large chunks that the parts I'm not overly analysing sometimes just into the background. Anyway, Sam's first comment was, I think with this season they're putting Harley and Ivy in the positions they are, not to actually develop their characters individually, but more to introduce new characters to the show because they really don't know how to do it right now. Definitely a fair point, and definitely could be the case. If it were up to me, the end arc of this season would be both of them leaving their jobs because they know they could run their own shit and that their morals don't have to align with another person's for the sake of fitting into the standards of what is a hero villain. I think we've covered this. I big agree, and I'm hoping that's what this season is. I kind of feel like we are all hoping that at this point, which is nice. I'm glad we're all on the same page. Sam also left me another comment saying, this wasn't mentioned, which it wasn't, I don't know how I missed it, but in episode 3 I really didn't appreciate them having King Shark say the D slur and almost indirectly use it to refer to Harley and Ivy. I genuinely don't even know how that got approved, and maybe it's just me who's upset by that, but I'd like to know your thoughts. My thoughts are, like I said, that I completely missed it the first 2-3 times I watched the episode. It wasn't until I rewatched it like after I'd uploaded my review with my girlfriend that she was like, hey, he just said the D word, which I personally have no issue saying on a personal basis, but I'm not going to say because it's just not necessary right now. I think I thought he was saying doula because they just helped Tabitha give birth, and I just heard it wrong. When she pointed it out, when my girlfriend pointed it out and I actually listened to it, I was like, why? And it's not that I was personally offended by that. Again, I'm really not. It didn't even notice it the first time, which tells you how shocking that word is to me these days. But I totally understand why you would be annoyed with it, and I really don't like the idea that Shark is referring to his friends like that. Like I said, I use that word in my own life. I refer to myself as a D word often. it's something I do to kind of relate to the queer women community. I feel so often that I'm like slighted from it because I'm bisexual and not a lesbian. And like, I am a big D word by all intents and purposes. But if my mate just started calling me that at the birth of his child, I would be like, dude, what the fuck? And like you said, I don't know how that got past firstly, I don't know how that got past DC. Like, I swear they let this show do whatever the fuck they like. And also, I'm not sure why the writers thought it was a good idea. It would be one thing if like Shark was another queer woman saying it to Harley and Ivy, or they were saying it to each other, or they were saying it as like a throwaway line about themselves. But yeah, I didn't like it, and it may have taken me a little while to realize it even happened, but I didn't like it, and it felt, I don't want to make any judgments about anyone's sexuality, but it felt a bit written by the straights. So yeah, if they're going to use that kind of language, then I would prefer it if it was from Harley and Ivy specifically. I would prefer they didn't use that type of language. And I think it's incredibly ironic, and so of my channel and what I talk about all the time, that the D word was used to describe Harley and Ivy before the word bisexual. Love that for us. Thank you, Sam, for that comment, and thank you for pointing that out to me, because I didn't comment on it and it should have been commented on, so I appreciate you saying that. 2 more comments, let's do this. Oh god, you're gonna have to accept my apologies again for these usernames. YouTube just shows your @s, so it's kind of hard to know what like I should call you. It just shows like your usernames. I can't tell if this is Ken TRC or Kent RC. Either way, let me know if you comment again. I would really appreciate it, and then I can call you by what you actually want to be called by. But Ken or Kent, you are Knuff, left me a comment saying, I had not noticed the internalized please your man with Harley to Bruce and Ivy to Lex before. Guessing the internalized patriarchy is a fad. God, I hope so. Season 3 in the Simps Day special had Harley obsessed with Queen Ivy until she didn't. Also true. The only constant in this series is harlivy. Everything else kind of burns. Also true. The writers are lazily doing the Harley's plan goes amiss, harlivy break up, Harley and Ivy rekindle and defeat the big mess. They did that all 3 seasons and the Simps Day special, coasting off DC's fan service and shipper bait. I don't want to agree, but I kind of do. I am that person that likes fan service and shipper bait when it comes to Harley and Ivy, right? Like, I don't just want that. I like decent stories written by decent people about decent characters, but I also am just starving for Harley and Ivy content sometimes, especially of them as a couple, because it feels so rare and it feels like it's only used when it will be to DC's greater benefit. So I do really appreciate this show for being so unabashed in that. In a lot of ways. I really do. But I don't think that we should lose everything else in this show just because there's like one nice scene in episode where Ivy calls Harley baby and they make out. Trust me, I love those scenes, but it isn't always enough, is it? Anyway, thank you for your comment. I appreciate it. Gay Cartoons, what a great username, said, as always, you pretty much nailed it. Thanks, I try. I enjoyed these episodes as just episodes of TV, but the wider implications were iffy. I agree. Like, this show is just watchable, and if you don't think too deeply about it, it's fine. But when you start thinking deeply about it, it's like, bruh. And in terms of their relationship, particularly the end of episode 3, as you said, they both, and particularly Ivy, have given up a lot to be together. And for that to then become secondary to Harley, I don't know, bonding with the Bat Kids, feels kind of strange, and basically like a weak way to separate them for the upcoming episodes. And yeah, get Harley into the Batsuit as soon as possible. Big agree, and we've covered this, multiple people have said it at this point, so I think it's pretty much a universal feeling. It sucks that they are separated, and it really doesn't make any sense in regards to their characters and how you would expect them to act in this position. So yeah, as soon as we can move past this, the sooner I like it. Gay Cartoons said, anyway, I'm not going to leave an essay in your comments. Always welcome to if you want to, because you pretty much said it already. Looking forward to hearing your thoughts on the rest of the series. Thank you, I appreciate it. Hopefully I can get these out quicker than I have been getting them out so far. That was actually a lot of fun. Was that fun for anyone else? I actually really enjoyed replying to these comments. I get a lot of comments and I really struggle to reply to them because I just do not have the time amongst actually making videos to write the amount that I want to write, to address every single one with the length and clarity that each of them deserve. So sometimes I just end up not replying to them, and that drives me nuts because then like a month will pass and I wouldn't have replied, and then it gets weird if I do reply when I do have time, and whatever. I might start doing more comment reply-y videos. I'm going to be carrying it on as long as you guys don't hate it for season 3. I think it's helpful. I think we can have a bit of a deeper discussion about the episodes this way, but also generally I think it might be worth going back and making like a comment video every now and then, just addressing general comments on the channel and replying to them in a deeper way. Let me know what you think about that. Anyway, this has been a long-winded rant about Harley Quinn. As always, I will see you in the next one, episode 5, which means we're about halfway through the season already, which is insane. It only came back 2 weeks ago. Thank you for being here, as always, guys. Be safe. Catch you in the next one.